in most businesses, cost of people is not that high. Their bigger costs, their supply chain costs, their real estate costs, their overheads, all that first need to be cut before you come to people. So, if you just talk good things and you do things that are contrary to what you talk, people are not going to believe you.
Welcome to another episode of the People Hum interview series. I'm your host Neha Murthy, and let's begin with a quick introduction of People Hum. People Hum is an end-to-end, one-view integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for HCM that is specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and video channel, which receives upwards of 200,000 visitors a year, and publish around 2 interviews with well-known names globally every month. And now for our guest, Prashant Srivastava is a consultant on business transformation, founder and CEO of the Other Two-Thirds Consulting, and the author of the book The Other Two-Thirds. He has also developed the multi-generational well-being plus engagement matter model based on his research of 20 years. He specializes in driving business through performance management, employee engagement, leadership development, and succession planning. He has been a part of the jury for the World HRD Congress 2020. Welcome, Prashant. We're thrilled to have you.
Thank you very much. It's so kind of you to have invited me on your platform.
It's absolutely our pleasure, Prashant. So the first question I had for you, Prashant, was you've had quite an exciting journey so far. Can you tell us your story about how you got started with the Other Two-Thirds Consulting?
So I think having done a stint as CEO of the most respected company in the employee engagement space called Gallup, having been a partner of a Fortune 500 company on Hewitt, and having been the group CHRO of one of the top 5 conglomerates in the country of its time, next step for me was to do something of my own and create employment, create GDP growth. And I have been passionate about both business and people. I have been passionate about creating a symbiotic win-win relationship rather than a win-lose which results in lose-lose. And employee engagement and well-being is an area that is very dear to me. And I started working on it since 2000. And that's where I said, how can we create a win-win relationship where businesses win, where people win, right? If the customers have to win, first the employees have to win, and that's where organizations have to enhance employee life, and employees have to enhance business performance. And with a vision of addressing at least 1,000 companies over the next 5 years, with an employee base of about 1 million employees, and if you include families, about 5 million people. If employees are happy, their families are likely to be happy. They're not going to carry the stress and tension from work to home, and they'll be happy. And with these happy, satisfied, engaged employees, businesses can be far more productive. And in my experience, constant to drive 30% growth in revenue and therefore much higher growth in profits because your fixed costs are constant over at least a few years before you have to incur the fixed costs, which then results into a significant multiplier of valuation. Now, with that in mind, we made some calculations and we realized that if we do this with about 1,000 companies, uh, we will be able to create a GDP growth of about 1.5%, which will have a secondary impact on employment in this country. Now, large companies, American companies who are quite profit driven, high cost business models, and now top two of them, their strategy I'm responsible for in India at least, are focused on only very large companies which uh, cater to a small amount of total employment that is generated. So our idea was to cater to companies, you know, typically these large foreign companies cater to about 200, 250 Indian companies or companies in India, including foreign companies. Our idea was to cater to companies which were 251 to 5,000. And we said, no, out of these 5,000, even if we get a 20% share in the market, that would be 1,000. And as Richard Taylor and now multiple researchers, and I'm at the bottom of the pyramid of the researchers, uh, Danny Kahneman and Richard Taylor are the major ones. Danny Kahneman got a Nobel Prize in 2002 and Richard Taylor in 2017. And both of them worked on similar premise that the human productivity is driven one-third by rational means and two-thirds by emotional connect. Now, what do you mean by rational means? Now, you select the right person, you state his goals, you pay him well, you give him a good canteen and a good office and a good laptop or a computer, etc., gets you one-third of the productivity. You define the purpose of the organization, you create a resonance between the individual purpose and the organization's purpose, and you emotionally connect with the employee. Better still, you even emotionally connect with his family, you get two-thirds of the productivity. And that's where the name two-thirds, and that's what all the research is about.
Wow,
And
that
that's
is
how we got started with the other two-thirds consulting.
that is so interesting to know. Like the concept behind the two-thirds concept is it's really amazing. And I completely agree to the fact that you said that the win-win situation lies in first getting the to get the customers win, you have to get the employees in win first. This is absolutely true. Thank you so much for that. So moving on to the next question, you have developed a multi-generational W plus E matter model and have based it on your 20 years of research. Can you tell our audience about what the model is and how it helps to drive business transformation?
So yeah, and a lot of people feel that employee engagement means a survey, and that's a diagnostic. Very right. That's where it begins. But as you rightly put it, employee engagement is not just a survey, it's a complete framework for transformation. Right? It goes way beyond the survey. So that's where we are looking at the uh, whole framework for transformation, and that's where what motivates Gen Y and Gen Z versus Gen X, and better still versus baby boomers is very different. Most of the big reputed models were all developed in late 80s and early 90s when people like me started working, who were part of early Gen X. Gen Y was in middle school and Gen Z was not born, right?
Yeah.
From early 90s to now, a lot of things have changed. No, internet came in 1992. Chinese economy started globalizing in 81, but actually got its roots only in around 91, 92. Indian economy started globalizing in 91 and really got it going only in 95, 96, right? So globalization of economy, internet, technology, IoT, artificial intelligence, machine learning, oh God. Now, so many changes in the environment, in the economies, and in the technology, and the employee engagement models remained where they were. No further research, no changes in the model, milking the existing models. So we thought to ourselves that in our time, we do something about it. So we took all the research, all the experience, no, and I've had the luxury of working for more than 250 companies and seeing through 2000 survey data. And as part of the alliance, I had the luxury of even implementing the frameworks, right, and modifying the tools to my need and requirement, and based on my research and all of that. And therefore, I had the opportunity of 4 years of experimentation with the new thought and the new model before I got into my own business. And that's where I could bring the entire thing together, and we divided it into three broad principles. So, one is purpose. My generation got excited about purpose when we got done with our professional achievements, maybe when we were in mid 40s. Now, Generation Z or Gen Z at 22 wants to know, hey, what's the purpose of your organization? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why should I continue with a purposeless organization that doesn't gel with my purpose? Right? Those are questions that CEOs and CHROs have to answer. That those are real difficult questions that Gen Z and Gen Y have been asking. Second thing is, we got a job, we gave our lives to the employer, right? Because we were brought up by a generation, we're not lifetime employees, but our parents were lifetime employees. So that's what we had inherited, right? Whereas Gen Y was brought up during economic boom, and Gen Z was brought up during multiple recessions. So the way these three generations think are quite different, and therefore well-being has become extremely important. And the meaning of organizational engagement has changed significantly, right? Not just from the side of an employee, but also from the side of an employer. When we started working, or the Gen X or the baby boomers started working, we just joined a company. Your performance, your learning development, your well-being, everything was taken care of by the company. Today, employers expect employees to take care of their well-being, take care of their performance, take care of their learning and development, right? So employees have to play a significant role in the engagement, in their own engagement, right? Because these are critical components of engagement. Leaders in early 90s, at best, people knew the names of the leaders. They, some who were lucky saw the leaders, but very few knew what the leaders were talking or thinking. Thanks to the social media, both in-house and external social media like Facebook and LinkedIn, today everyone knows what their leaders look like, what they think, what they do, etc. So the thought process of leaders is going to significantly influence the engagement of individuals. So the whole thought that was there, that manager influences engagement or owns engagement, is true, very true. But leader has a significant role to play. Employee himself has a significant role to play. And the other model, which thought that HR owns the engagement, was very wrong in any case, because HR doesn't own employees. HR doesn't own, how can they own their engagement? HR is the custodian of the processes and enablers of engagement, and has to support the managers and leaders and now employees to engage themselves or engage their team or create an engaged organization. It's catalyst. It's not the owner, right? Catalyst can accelerate a reaction, but cannot create the reaction. Reaction is between two components who are interacting with each other. So it's either the manager and the team or leader and the organization. So that's where we create a model, multi-generational, which had purpose, well-being, organizational engagement in a very different form. We're not talking of lifetime employment. We're talking of 3 to 5 years of association. If that is what we achieve, we should be happy. We're talking of ownership not by one stakeholder but multiple stakeholders. And we've created digital training programs to train people and you know take the training to the bottom of the pyramid in large organizations and make it affordable for smaller organizations. Because even in large organizations, training pretty much stops at top or maybe middle level. Bottom, the training is left only to product training and process training, and the behavioral skills don't percolate down, and therefore we resorted to digital training programs. And we also provide in-person consulting on the ground to comprehensively manage the transformational process and the impact on business that we talk of. So that's where also what we've done is we've used artificial intelligence and machine learning to predict attrition, predict performance, and predict productivity. So that's something that is new. Uh, Almost nobody is doing in the world, but we're doing it. We have the algorithms and we're using them to feed the learning process of AI ML and keep perfecting it. So that's really the model and how we're going about. The other difference that we've created is that we've automated everything on technology platform. So unlike some of the conventional players who take anywhere between 4 weeks to 12 weeks to deliver all the reports and scorecard, we do it in 48 hours.
Wow,
So
that is
that's
amazing.
that's technology and technology making the difference.
Yeah. That is amazing. And I completely agree. It should be the engagement between the leaders and the employers. It is very necessary. And as you even said about the leaders, and how do you think, like, there are multi generational employers right now? So how do you think leaders in today's time can have an authentic voice that people listen to?
So leaders have to be ethical, have to be transparent, and have to have a balanced approach towards all stakeholders: shareholders, customers, employees, business partners, and society. You know, going back to our win-win situation, if you have a win-lose, it will result in a lose-lose. If you have a win-win, then only you will have sustainable relationships, and sustainable relationships create sustainable businesses. So that's where leaders have to be authentic, transparent, and should be out to create win-win relationships. What should they be doing specifically to connect with their teams? I think first and foremost, they have to be capable business leaders, and people or the team or the organization should have confidence, including the last man standing in the team, that if these leaders are there, our business is safe, it will survive, it will thrive, it will grow. That's number one. Number two, leaders should be able to show a direction. What's the direction that the company is headed in? Number three is they should define the purpose of a company, of a business, because without purpose, a business or an organization is like a dead body, right? Is like a body, even if it is not dead, without a soul, right? Even if you have a great guy moving around, right, and he doesn't have a soul in him, would you like to interact with him?
No.
So that's where, purpose is the soul of an organization. That's where if a company is acquired by another company, what do you lose? The organization is same, offices are same, people are same. What you've lost is purpose, and therefore the organization appears to be a very different purpose, a very different organization, right? Imagine if souls were real. I don't know if they're real, but if the soul inside a human being was changed, will the human being be the same, right? That's the criticality of purpose. So the third thing they need to do is define the purpose and not just put it on a poster, but live the purpose every day. The fourth thing that they have to do is, and no, we saw this in a very large, very reputed conglomerate. Their business excellence model, uh, maybe 10, 15 years ago, now they have, of course, improved, showed that people had huge confidence in the leadership, but they did not know what they're doing and how the business will survive or thrive and what they should do to support their leaders because the communication was very low. So, therefore, transparent, frequent, effective, two-way communication is necessary to bring to life the first 3 points. And the fifth point is valuing people, not by speaking in board meetings and seminars, but walking the talk. And the sixth point is being customer focused. Again, same thing. Not talking about it in seminars, but doing things that demonstrate that they are customer focused. So if leaders do these six things, whether in Corona times, before Corona, after Corona, the organizations will not just survive, they will thrive. There is a HBR article where the CEO of the GT Energy says that in 2009 they thought that they will go bankrupt. And when he was talking to a professor, he said, "Why don't you work on purpose?" And he thought that this professor is in his own words, out of his mind. We're gonna go bankrupt, and he's talking of purpose. But he said we are anyway going to go bankrupt, so why not try this out? And they worked on purpose. They aligned their workforce around purpose. They not just survived 2009, they grew that year. Their revenue grew, their profits grew, right? So that's a established path of purpose. So that's what leaders can do, leverage. The first thing that leaders want to cut is marketing and branding, and second thing, all people initiatives, and third thing, people themselves, right? The bigger things to cut, right? In most businesses, cost of people is not that high. Their bigger costs, their supply chain costs, their real estate costs, their overheads, all that first need to be cut before you come to people. So, if you just talk good things and you do things that are contrary to what you talk, people are not going to believe you.
Absolutely, that is so beautiful. And as you said, purpose is the soul of any organization. I completely agree to that.
Thank you
And
very much. Thanks a lot.
thank you. So, given the current state of affairs, since the unpredictable COVID wave has hit us all around, what would you advise the top level managers and the organizations to ensure smooth business relations, and to stay steady during such a situation?
So, Three things. First, communicate effectively, transparently, and create a two-way communication, not one-way speech. And you know, employees are willing to understand that the whole world is dealing through a recession that the world hasn't seen in last 100 years, right? They're willing to help, collaborate, cooperate, right? Now, if you want to reduce the headcount by 50%, reduce the compensation by 50%. And people who are non-performers, don't them this year, jettison them next year, right? And I'm not talking for the sake of talking. I was CEO of Gallup India in 2008-9, and we grew the business by 10% when most consulting firms had a negative growth of 30-40%, right? And we did not let anybody touch the India team, even on non-performance issues. We said if the guy is non-performing, he will go, but he'll go next year, not this year. Of course, since we grew our revenue, we didn't have to cut compensations. But I'm saying today, situation is really bad. It's worse than 2009, and the business is out of control of leaders also, because it's global economy, which is not in the control of a business leader. So then you've got to reduce your costs. Start with maybe real estate, maybe some of the other costs, and then you'll have to come down to people, because in some businesses, services, people cost is significant, and therefore reduce the costs, right? That is as far as leaders are concerned, and be transparent about it, and keep sharing the business situation ahead of time, so that mentally people are prepared that there may be a 25% or a 50% pay cut, and it should start from the top. Because if you look at bottom of the pyramid, if they earn 100 rupees, they consume 90 rupees. By the time you reach the middle management, they consume 75% of it, right? And by the time you reach the top management, they consume 50%, right? So, don't cut the consumable income, the income that people are consuming. Cut the savings and investment, right? And people will not feel the pain. If you cut the consumable income and they have to cut their regular expenses, that's where people will feel the pain. So that's another point that I have, which I've been kind of advising a lot of CHROs to do, and advise their CEOs that, hey, let's not cut people, let's cut their compensation if we have to. As far as managers are concerned, they have become even more critical than they were pre-COVID, because today employees are working. A lot of employees are still working from home, right? Disconnected from the office, from the peers, from the team, from the leaders, everyone. And that's where manager is the only link between them and the office and the organization, right? And he has to, or she has to, play that role very effectively. That's like a role of a head of family, right? Just as you taking care of your family during COVID, you have to take care of your team. That's your family. And if all the managers start taking care of their teams as their family, that will be very high engagement, and that would lead to significant productivity as and when there is a market opportunity. And these are the organizations which will not just survive, but they will thrive, and they're going to be far more successful post COVID than they were pre COVID.
Absolutely, that makes so much of sense. It should be people oriented first, so it ultimately sums up to everything, right?
Thank you.
So, before wrapping the interview, lastly, any other sound bites that you would like to leave with for our audience? For
I would suggest that leaders should act as metaphorically patriarch, no, and because we are in a patriarchal society, but it doesn't necessarily need to be patriarch. It could be a woman leader, it could be a man leader, uh, it could be anybody. But that's the role that they have to take. If you were running a joint family with multiple sons and daughters living with you, how will you manage that, right? And managers have to take the parental role in this joint family. These sons and daughters, right, are managing their independent family unit. So if you just do what you would have done to your own family, you will succeed. And from an employee perspective, I read a LinkedIn post and I was like very perturbed. Some HR friend of mine had posted saying that, you know, manager to the team member, this has to be done at 7 p.m. in the evening, that this has to be done. Team member, okay, I'll do it tomorrow and give it to you, right? Manager, no, do it in next 1 hour and give it. And huge number of comments, everyone badgering the manager. I want to badger that employee. Hey, you got the job, right? And no, the manager is not thinking about his family. His maid servant is not coming. He has to look after the kid. Blah 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 blah. Imagine those of your colleagues who lost their job. They want to do your work. They don't mind doing it in the midnight. You're the lucky one who saved your job at 7 p.m. Why do you want to end your work? Go the extra mile. I mean, why did manager have to tell you that do it today? You should have told the manager that I'll do it today. I'll give it to you by 8 p.m. Go the extra mile, help the business, help the economy. The sooner your business comes back, the sooner the economy comes back, some of your brethren who've lost their jobs are likely to get back their jobs. And if you're going to be God's gift to mankind, that you want to close your work at 7 p.m., and why should I use my traveling time? My manager is expecting me to use my travel time to work rather than spend with the family. Hey, imagine the guy who used to sit next to you who's lost his job. He's sitting with his family, doesn't have enough money to support his family. He doesn't know what will happen to his family 6 months from now. So employees, team members, including managers who are also team members of some other manager, they've got to stretch themselves. They've got to deliver that discretionary effort. They don't need to look at their watch. They don't need to look at their calendar. They are the fortunate ones who have the jobs. They need to deliver, and they need to make sure that their business survives and thrives. And they've got to engage themselves. They are also responsible for their own engagement, and they have to deliver productivity, right? If they deliver productivity, if their organization grows, if sigma of all the organizations grow, then the economy grows, and the economy grows, you'll create employment again. Otherwise, we're going to have starvation. So that's my message, not just to leaders and managers, but also to employees.
absolutely, thank you so much for that, Ravi. So it was wonderful. It was wonderful talking to you, and I really appreciate your time and insights sharing with us. It was an enriching experience for me, and I'm sure it's gonna be the same for our viewers as well.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. It was a pleasure being on your platform.
Thank you so much. Take care, stay healthy, stay safe.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.